Welcome back to Alpacamade. I'm glad you're back. It is January 21st, 2021.
By now, some of you with sharp eyes are probably on to me, and you notice that all of the episodes in this series, Making Our Family Research Notebook, this small one, were taped in mid to late December, and this is the last one on December 31st taping. I scared myself a little bit because I thought I had uploaded something out of order, but I double checked and saw that everything was in order. Here's our research notebook. We've added stuff to it. You can go back. There'll be a link in the iCard for how we constructed this. Now, what do we do with all of the larger prints off of the web? How do we take care of that? Some things, we don't want it in our small research notebook. We want it in our large research notebook. And where do we start with all this? Well, we start with our tools. You do need a file system or a large notebook for larger prints, things that are too big to go into the research notebook, like I just said. You also need some post-it notes, some tape flags, help with organization, and a pencil with a good eraser on it. You want to write in pencil for two reasons. When you are copying down information from the census forms, the tendency in your head is to edit mistakes, especially at first. You see that they misspelled your family name, and your inclination is to write it correctly. Don't do that. Write it exactly the way it appears on the census forms. It's very important to fill in the census forms completely and to write exactly what they've recorded, because those details later may be very important. So get yourself a pencil or 10 and some good erasers. All right, next thing. I said to you a few weeks ago that I would put copies of the census forms you're going to need into the show notes, and I did not do that. I apologize. The link to my Google Drive is in there now with a little brochure that says Readme December 2020 or something like that. You can either download a zip file with all that stuff in it, or you can download the individual files. You're going to need 1940, which I don't have on top here. I just forgot to print it out. But you're going to need master copies of all of these census files. They're all in that Google Drive link in the show notes. So 1940, 1930, and 1920, and 1910, for sure you're going to need at least a master copy of them. I've provided you with master copies going all the way back to 1870. These are your working copies. They can be folded in half to stick in your research notebook, because I promise you, as I'm going to show you in 1 second, when you go to print these out, you're going to be sad, some of them. So you also need something to put them in. I just keep mine in one of these old-fashioned accordion folios, and I keep it in my big research notebook in a pocket where I can get quick access to those files. I have a bunch of plastic dividers, and I have some cheap dollar store plastic page protectors. These are not adequate for long-term storage. Please don't think they are. They're not. They're made from a plastic that will degrade paper. And then I have some other information here that's not relevant to this discussion, but this is how you get started. You'll probably need some dividers if your pockets don't have dividers. I would encourage you not to punch holes in your permanent paperwork for your big notebook. Get page protectors, even if only what you can afford is a handful of dollar store ones temporarily, but plan on investing in archive quality. They're a little spendy, but over time, if you buy a pack at a time, then you can replace the ones that will degrade your paper with good ones that will stand the test of time. Here's an excellent example of what I wanted to talk about next. You're going to be tempted to just print out, this is 1930. You're going to be tempted to just print out the whole page that you find your people on. But as you can see, this is written most often in cursive handwriting, and cursive handwriting back in the 30s, 40s, even 50s, where they practiced penmanship, is a little bit different and sometimes a lot different than what we see today. And if you just printed out the image, you're not going to get the whole sheet. It's bigger than 8.5 by 11. As you can see, it's cut off. Do print it landscape if you are tempted to print it, or if you got good handwriting that you can read easily. Do print it off landscape so that you can see across the whole ledger page, because the original ledger pages for this kind of census work were ginormous. They were on 11 by 17 pages, I think, or at least 11 by 14. Probably would have been the smallest one. But can you read this, and do you want to read this when you just need to find, oh, what was the street name and the house number? Well, you know, magnifying glass, you'll get frustrated really easy. So write this stuff as I've done for this family. Write it out longhand. The other advantage of writing it out longhand is that your information, that at least about your immediate past, your grandparents and even your great-grandparents, you will retain that information better if you write it down. It's some sciencey thing that has to do with action and how memory is stored. The next thing I want to talk about is, do print out a map of states that you're not very familiar with. Make sure it's a county map, so that you can see where the county capitals are and some other well-known places. Because, again, you have no idea what Montana looks like unless you live there or frequently visit there. So get a map so that you become more familiar with the geography of the states you're working with. Along the way, you're going to get sidetracked over and over and over again. And if you come across an interesting article that pertains to your family, print it out and set it aside and keep it in a file with that sort of information organized the way you will understand it and remember where it is. This happens to be the USS Texas, the history of the USS Texas, and my grandfather served on this ship in the Pacific. Actually, he served on it twice. And there were some other articles. I think this article is an account of the Texas and just, you know, a day in the life. So if you come across that stuff, print it out, stick it in a file, so that you'll have it later. This is that document that my great aunt wrote for me. This is the original. It's starting to get a little tattered. If you get a document like this, photocopy it immediately and put the original away so that it's preserved and it doesn't start getting torn up like mine is. Do as I say, not as I do. I think that's it for the stuff that's in this, because I've gutted this notebook to start over as far as organizing it. I'm doing a lot of this stuff, even though I've been doing this most of my adult life, I'm redoing it over with you as if I had not ever done it before. All your little handwritten notes, like this note that's just, chicken scratch all over the place, that belongs in your research notebook until you've either looked that stuff up or you have recorded it. So this is what the research notebook is for, the chicken scratch.
I just wanted to give you a look at the first page of the little brochure I put up that is the Readme text. The link for all these blank census forms and the 6th generation chart is in the show notes. I think we're done for today. That's all I have for you. Seems like these videos keep getting longer and longer, and I promise you, for my own sake, we are going to go back to a shortened version. In the meantime, thank you so much for stopping by. Shout out to the new subscriber, and until I see you again, God bless and take care.